Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. The angel Gabriel was sent from God to a town of Galilee called Nazareth, to a virgin betrothed to a man named Joseph of the house of David, and the virgin's name was Mary. And coming to her, he said, "Hail, full of grace, the Lord is with you." But she was greatly troubled at what was said, and pondered what sort of greeting this might be. Then the angel said to her, "Do not be afraid, Mary, for you have found favor with God. Behold, you will conceive in your womb and bear a son, and you shall name him Jesus. He will be great and will be called Son of the Most High. And the Lord God will give him the throne of David his father, and he will rule over the house of Jacob forever, and of his kingdom there will be no end." But Mary said to the angel, "How can this be, since I have no relations with a man?" And the angel said to her in reply, "The Holy Spirit will come upon you, and the power of the Most High will overshadow you. Therefore the child to be born will be called Holy, the Son of God. And behold, Elizabeth, your relative, has also conceived a son in her old age. And this is the 6th month for her who was called barren, for nothing will be impossible for God." Mary said, "Behold, I am the handmaid of the Lord. May it be done to me according to your word." Then the angel departed from her. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Oh, there's no place like home for the holidays. Have you noticed that a lot of those old-time Christmas favorites on the radio, so many of them speak about home? I'll be home for Christmas. All those songs by Frank Sinatra and Bing Crosby, Nat King Cole, they were written back in the 1940s and 50s and written for a generation of soldiers that often found themselves far away overseas in various wars, far away from home and loved ones during Christmas. And they expressed a longing to be back home again. Maybe some of us this year have a similar longing. We wish we could be home. We wish we could be with loved ones this Christmas. Maybe it's not possible. Maybe this year Zoom or FaceTime is going to have to do. Or maybe some of us are saying, actually, home is the last place on earth I want to be right now. I spend all my time at home. Work and school is at home. It's those people at home that are driving me crazy. I wish I was like on a Hawaiian island somewhere. Mauli Kalikimaka, that's the song I want to hear. But if we have a home to go to, we should consider ourselves blessed, because home really is a special place. It's the place where we experience love and family. It's the place where we experience faith and grow up in that. And it's the place where we make the best of it. No matter how messy it is, at Christmas we try to make the best of it. Not everyone has a home to go to. About 1,000 years before the time of Jesus, King David was lamenting the fact that he had a beautiful home to live in, a beautiful palace in Jerusalem with all the furnishings, but God had nowhere to call home. The Ark of the Covenant, that place where God was said to dwell, it was in a tent somewhere out in the desert, and it was just like brought about Israel from place to place. And so to his credit, David wanted to do something about the fact that God was homeless and build a home for him. But God speaks to David through the prophet Nathan and says, "No, David, the time is not yet for you to build me a house. Rather, I'm going to build you a house, a royal house, a dynasty. I'm going to raise up a son after you who will be king. I will make his kingdom firm, and he will be the one that will build me a house." Now, most directly, God is talking here about David's son, King Solomon, who famously builds the temple in Jerusalem so that God could finally have a place to live among his people. But more importantly, God was also looking forward 1,000 years to a more distant descendant of King David, Jesus, who would be the one to permanently establish God's dwelling among the human race, among his people. It shouldn't surprise us that after those 1,000 years, the angel Gabriel is appearing to a young girl named Mary, betrothed to a man named Joseph of the house of David, and asks her to become the mother of a son who will fulfill all those prophecies. He will be great, the angel says. He will be put on the throne of David, his father. He will rule over the house of Jacob forever, and of his kingdom there will be no end. You see, it's Jesus that really fulfills all those promises made to David long ago, that God was going to come and live among his people forever. He was going to have a kingdom that would last for all time, and his home would be right there in the middle of all of our homes. What a beautiful thing. And Jesus is the one that fulfills that promise. To have a home is a very special thing, and to have family is very important. I'm hoping later on this week to go visit my family up in Sunapee. My brother and his wife live up there. And we'll see. I know it's kind of messy, but I hope to get up there in the afternoon after all my Christmas masses. We'll see. For one thing, they were supposed to get 6 inches of snow in this last storm. Instead, they got 36. And so I think they're still digging themselves out. But if I make it up there, I'm sure it will be fun, because they're expecting another child. They're due again in May. And I already have several little nieces and nephews that are always running around the house, and their house is starting to get a little bit small. It's a madhouse. Their 3 oldest are these boys that are very close in age, and they run all over the place, and they have to come up and show you every Lego set and every Pokemon card they got for Christmas, and they have to play every board game with them. And I hope my little 2-year-old niece Adelaide will be there, and she can run up to Uncle Matt, and I'll bend down and reach down and pick her up and throw her in the air. And it's great because I rile up all the kids, and then I leave and go home to my quiet rectory at the end of the day. And my brother and his wife have to clean up the mess. Being a priest is a little bit like being a grandparent. You can leave afterwards. But it's such a beautiful thing to be able to spend time with family if you can. And even if it is on Zoom this year, that's okay. Spend that time. Tell the people in your life that you love them. And, that's what God did for us. He let us know how much he loved us. The beautiful thing was that, think about it. God, the almighty eternal God, who created everything that's ever existed, who lives up in a perfect home in heaven, he did that, he's lived up there for all eternity. He decided at a moment of time, 2,000 years ago, to come down to earth, take on our flesh, take on our humanity, and establish a home among his people. The Word became flesh and dwelt among us. The angel Gabriel asked Mary to make in her womb a first home for Jesus. But then he dwelt in that stable in Bethlehem. He dwelt in that home in Nazareth. You see, through Jesus, God wanted to share in all of our human experiences, all those messy experiences that make us human. The experience of being born and having a family, living in a home, having friends, playing games, getting a job, growing up, working, getting sick, suffering, even dying. There's no human experience other than sin that Jesus hasn't already experienced. That's how much he loves us. He didn't want to just stay up in heaven and wave a magic wand from afar and pretend everything was all right. No, he leapt right down into the midst of our suffering, of our heartaches, of our joys, of our hopes and dreams. He shares in everything, our human nature in all things but sin. And we call that fact that God took on our humanity, took on our flesh, we call that the incarnation. And it's one of the central mysteries of our faith. In fact, that's why we make such a big deal about Christmas. Christmas is a celebration of the incarnation. And that mystery is so profound that when we hear it in our profession of faith, we actually bow in reverence. He was incarnate of the Virgin Mary and became man. And actually what we're doing in that moment is we're imitating in our bodies what God does. God who bent down from heaven down to earth to pick up fallen humanity. Just like I would bend down and pick up my little niece on Christmas, and I hope I don't throw out my back. That's what God does. He picks up his children. God loved us enough to do that, to share in everything that makes us human. And that's the great joy of Christmas. God doesn't just, come down and turn things around and rile things up and go away again. The joy of Christmas is that God is Emmanuel. Jesus is Emmanuel, God with us. He is with us every day. He is with us in everything we do. There is nowhere we can go that he hasn't already experienced that. And so let us invite him into our homes this Christmas. Jesus wants to be home with us for the holidays. He wants to share in our families, share in our life, share in our dinners, share in everything we do. And so let's invite him. Let's open up our homes so that that mighty guest may come. Let us take advantage of these last few days of Advent to prepare for his coming. Not just by cleaning and cooking and decorating and wrapping presents, but more importantly, by sweeping our homes of division and discord, by seeking to be patient with one another, by forgiving one another, by seeking to make our homes above all else a dwelling place of love, diffusing far and wide the goodness of Christ. I like all those old songs by Frank Sinatra and Bing Crosby that speak about home. Home really is a special place. But I really love those Advent and Christmas hymns that speak of an even greater love, of a God who loved us enough that he wanted to share his home with us. One of those songs that we sing this week especially, we sang it at the beginning of Mass today, it also speaks about home. People look east, the time is near, of the crowning of the year. Make your house fair as you are able, trim the hearth and set the table. People look east and sing today, love the guest is on the way.